Nebraska Teenage Killer, featuring Charles Starkweather. Full name, Charles Raymond Starkweather. Crimes and sprees. Charles was a teenage boy whom he and his 14-year-old accomplice, Carol Ann Fugate, contributed to 11 known murders. He was known to be a mass murderer rather than a serial killer. His first murder was known to involve kidnapping. Specifically, he went to the gas station to buy a Christmas gift for his girlfriend, Carol. However, since he had no money and he couldn't afford the gift, he had requested to get the stuffed plushie animal for free specifically. However, the store worker Robert Colvert had denied, which led to an emotional outburst from Charlie, leading him to kidnap Robert, then later murdering the store worker. He would break into homes, get involved in burglary, stealing people's belongings, then take the lives of the victims. Victim-wise, he did not have any target-specific gender nor race. His killings were at random. In fact, his spree was characterized by a haphazard nature, escalating panic along with explosive rage. The crimes would take place in between eastern Nebraska and eastern Wyoming, specifically Lincoln, Bennett, Nebraska, and Douglas, Wyoming, or the road of it in Wyoming. The crime spree itself did not last that long, or even a year. It was less than 2 months, spanning a total of 59 days. From December 1, 1957, and January 29, 1958, other than murdering, he was known to steal along with grand theft vehicles. Investigation. The investigation involving Starkweather was defined and was known to be chaotic, a widespread panic, and intense public backlash. It started after when Carol Ann Fugate's family was murdered. Before it started, there was a notable absence in the family of Carol Ann Fugate, who was also known as Charlie's girlfriend, causing neighbors to worry. However, on the door, it was written they had some sort of flu, causing the neighbors to turn away without raising any major concern. Velda Bartlett's mother, aka the grandmother of Carol, had worried due to the fact days had passed without anyone reaching out, which led to the police being involved to investigate the situation and the setting. When the Lincoln Police Department had arrived inside the home of Carol, the bodies and corpses of the family of Carol had been found. In addition, some other corpses were found inside the chicken coop. A name of Charles Starkweather had been connected to the murder, leading a manhunt for Charlie Starkweather. In addition, based on the witness, it was discovered Charles was seen buying a toy from victim Robert Colvert before the murder. Schools had to shut down due to the potential murders towards other individuals due to its randomness. A man named Joe Sprinkle in Wyoming had offered Charles, who was passing by, a ride. However, Charlie instead would attempt to kidnap the man. However, the man would fight back. Regardless of the pain, Charlie had to use a car to escape from the arriving police, leading to a 100 miles per hour chase to occur, which was ended when an officer shot Charles in the ear, leading to him pulling over as he bled. Both Charlie and Carol were held in custody after the chase. Trial and court proceedings. During the trial and court proceedings, Charlie had confessed to all 11 counts of murders, leading to his lawyers having difficulties on using their defense. Despite the difficulties, they attempted to prove the insanity of Charlie, claiming he had suffered from varieties of mental illnesses. Charles at first said and attempted to protect Carol during the process, saying she was innocent. However, as soon as Charlie would find out Carol had turned against him and in fact worked with the officers, Charlie would switch and turn bitter towards her, confessing she had contributed to the killings herself. Reportedly, there was an argument between Charlie and his lawyers due to the fact he was highly proud of his bad boy persona, and his lawyers were against that persona, as it was reported, or he calls it. It didn't take long for the jury to deny the insanity of Charles, which led to on May 23 of 1958, Charles was charged with 11 first-degree murders, in addition sentencing him to death with the electric chair. Childhood. Charles's childhood wasn't necessarily unstable in his home as it was reported. His home life itself was highly structured, despite the difficult finance and not being the wealthiest. It was reported Charles would play tag and ball catch with his brothers, since he was the third of 7 children. He was raised by his father, Guy Starkweather, and his mother, Helen Starkweather. Both were very hard-working individuals, taking care of the children as best as they can. However, the hardships and difficulties came in Charles's life when school had began. He was born with a bow-legged condition where he couldn't walk properly, along with having a high-pitched voice and having a height difference between the students. Students in the school would often bully Charles for the features he carried. He was in a way socially isolated from others, not having much friends or peers to have conversations with or even become friends with. Due to the fact people had verbally abused him, he had began to learn how to physically abuse them back, leading him to, while having a small frame, he was known to be a violent boy, creating a defensive temper. To cope with his stresses during the bullying, he would copy his idol, the actor James Dean, along with adopting a bad boy persona. He would eventually drop out of school, leading to him getting a job, then meeting his girlfriend, Carol Ann Fugate, which contributes to the future crimes he would commit with her. Personal life, potentially affecting their crimes and acts. N.A. Charles committed the crimes rather after his childhood or when he began to exit through his teenage years. Pivotal events. Charles Raymond Starkweather was born on the 24th of November, 1938 in Lincoln, Nebraska. In 1956, Charles had dropped out of school at age 16 years old. In 1956, he met Carol Ann Fugate and began to date her months later after he dropped out of school. In 1957, his first murder towards Robert Colvert had occurred in the gas station. On January 21, 1958, he murdered the family of Carol Ann Fugate, his girlfriend. Charles was arrested on January 29, 1958, on the streets of Wyoming, along with his girlfriend. Quotes from Charles Raymond Starkweather. The more I looked at people, the more I hated them. I always wanted to be a criminal, but not this big one. Well, I know they're gonna kill me anyways. I don't really care or anything. I'm gonna be famous for all times like my idol James Dean. And I'm looking forward on dying on the chair to meet my idol James Dean. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm a monster, and I know people are gonna tell me how ugly I am as they did all my life, and I'm really looking forward to dying in the electric chair. It's cool looking, like James Dean. Forensic inferences. Charles at first, during his home life, may not have been negative or nothing out of the ordinary. However, I think one of the likely main causes is from his school life. As said before, he was heavily teased and bullied for his appearance. That likely created a sense of hate towards humanity and the humans and the peers around him. He was likely lonely, in a sense, highly isolated, growing a depression which likely turned into hatred, rage. While his home life may not have been the main cause, it's likely looking at his struggling family, then comparing it to the wealthier families around. It grew a sense of arousal, a sense of envy. When he met Carol and Fugate, in his mind, he probably felt some sort of emotion, a belief he could control and possess over Carol, to contribute to his revengeful-like spree towards society. Charles likely desired to be seen, regardless if it was positive or negative, though it's likely he thought negative was highly fashionable, sexy, and cool. While none of his brothers did not turn out to be like Charles, the environment likely had contributed to his killings, though there is the possibility he was born with some sort of mental condition, making it seem to be Charles Starkweather was a natural serial killer or mass murderer. Natural killer. He likely was excited from the tension while feeling a sense of bitter towards Carol during the arrest, while he remained stoic in front of authorities and investigators. Legacy and impact. Charles Raymond Starkweather is considered to be America's, at least Nebraska's, youngest mass murderer. Charles had caused a panic for the community in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's likely when some people from Nebraska would view the image of James Dean, they would instantly see the face of Charles Starkweather from the trauma. Many movies used Charles Starkweather's case, along with making series. During that era, after the case of Charles Starkweather, it's likely people began to feel difficult in trusting others around them. Carol Ann Fugate, after being released from prison, she would have received many backlashes from the public. Charles Starkweather is somewhat an icon of victim to bully to killer, till this day.